you from Studio HQ. We've got a new episode of the Sunder Katz. Why Sunder? Because we're coming out with something different, different comic book from an indie publisher. And in today's episode, it is Coffin Comics. And why cats is because we are the coolest cats in town. Speaking of cool cats, we've got Rabbit Paul Gomez. Hello.
How's it going? Welcome back. I hope everyone's having a great week.
Excellent. We're sure we are. And then we've got Manny Manuel Carmona from Truthful Comics. What's up, Manny?
I'm good, man. Not in the coffin yet.
Well, I'm pleased to hear that. I'm pleased. Yes. Well, I mean, speaking of Coffin Comics hasn't been around all that long, but the title character from the publisher has been around for a long time, exceeding 30 years.
Yep.
And then obviously is Lady Death, and the amazing content from Coffin Comics. From Lady Death started way back in 1991 with the publisher Chaos Comics. Rabbit, you mentioned before that you're into Chaos. Knowing of Lady Death. What were your fond memories?
It's been so long ago, but I had this best friend and she loved Lady Death. I remember buying her a few issues and she started collecting them, and she had just about every one of them mounted on her wall, like up and down the staircases. And
Wow.
She was just so into it. I loved it because I could read those comics. Those weren't ones that I'd bought myself, but I'd buy for her. And it was just one of those things that whenever a friend has a comic, I'd love to be able to experience what they love as well.
Yeah, no, but you know what? One thing I liked about Chaos way back in the day is the fact that the art was consistent, right?
Yeah.
Because Stephen Hughes, he was the main artist, and I think just like Jack Kirby in the early days of Marvel, that art was fairly consistent. Welcome back, Manny. What were your fond memories of Chaos Comics?
Well, man, I when I first heard of Chaos Comics, it was in like Wizard magazines, Hero magazines, and they were like everywhere. Basically every issue, I saw these images, and I was like, I need to get me some of these comics. And in Puerto Rico, we only had like 2 comic books shops in the whole island. So I had to travel 2 hours to get to a comic book shop and see if they actually had them or something,
Yeah.
I eventually got a hold of a bunch of them. But yeah, that what's the name of the Stephen Hughes, right? Is that the name of
Stephen
the
Hughes, yes.
Man, that artwork was something else. And he did it with obviously conventional traditional art, and it was like Prismacolor pencils. So it was something completely different than what everybody was doing. So it definitely caught my eye.
Yeah, and you're right, because his art style was I guess if you look at Lady Death nowadays, she's still reminiscent of the Stephen Hughes art style.
Yeah.
And I think I love that. And I think that pays like absolute respect to the creator. Gone way too soon, in my opinion. Way too soon.
I was actually gonna. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was actually gonna ask you guys, because I had no idea that he had passed. It's sad to hear. And I was gonna ask you. I wonder what happened with him, because I never saw him work on anything, and obviously his artwork was amazing.
Yeah, no, I think it was either a heart-related illness or it was cancer. I cannot remember off the top of my head.
Damn.
Yeah,
It was a long time ago. Yeah.
Okay.
And to get more from Coffin Comics, please check out coffincomics.com. Also, you can go to ladydeathuniverse.com to see the amazing content. But their website is absolutely something else. But before we touch on the website, another avenue that is a way of buying like literally all their books is through Kickstarter. Brian Pulido, the man, like, to be honest with you, I don't know what you guys think, but I think he's like, in many ways, a Todd McFarlane when it comes to industry, when it comes to his own creation, Lady Death, because all his other projects are all owned by Dynamite now. You know, Dynamite Entertainment
Right.
owned
And the thing about him is he's so unique, and he did take on Kickstarter with grabbing the bull by both horns. I was on a message board today, and they were asking who was the king of Kickstarter, and a lot of people mentioned two names, and the one name that came up the most was Brian Pulido, because he does put them out so gracefully and so much into his campaigns that nobody can even come close to it.
Yeah.
But can you see something right there? Look where he's got created, right? Look on the left side of that. He's backed another 100 Kickstarter projects.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That shows to me that one, he brings out his own books, but he's abiding by the community, right? That he's actually backing other projects, which he doesn't have to do. But
Exactly.
for him to do so, oh my god, man.
Yeah.
Much respect. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he doesn't have to do that, man. That's amazing, right? Because you see like all these rich bastards that kind of like, you know, earning all their money, but just don't care about the, you know. But here is a way of seeing that he's actually putting back into the Kickstarter community, which is massively respectful, in my opinion. But Manny, have you, like you mentioned before off show that you know that you've been following Pulido for a while? What is about him that you know of?
What is it? I'm sorry. What was the question?
About Pulido, like you've been following him for a while. What about his character is it that you really appreciate?
Look, I really, the thing I really appreciate the most about him is that he's focused on his characters, and he's not into drama. He's not into, you know, throwing dirt on somebody else. He's focused on his projects. Obviously, he's focused on helping the community through other Kickstarters. And he has, like Paul was saying, he grabbed the bull by the horns, and he knows what he wants to do with his character, you know. And even with the ones that are on Dynamite, I don't know if he's still part owner or what's going on, but he's always stayed focused on what he wanted, and I think that we can all take a page from his book, you know.
Yeah, to answer that, I think it's all 100% owned by Dynamite, because Chaos went into liquidation, and before all the characters were sold off, he took Lady Death.
Okay.
He bought Lady Death from what's the name of CrossGen? Imagine that. CrossGen almost sold Lady Death to Disney. So he bought Lady Death from CrossGen before it went into liquidation, before Disney purchased it. So
that's a good thing, because all those characters from CrossGen, they're in the ether right now. You know, you'll never see them again.
Right? Exactly. So, guys, not all the books that we see here. There's 25 created. Since I think since last year or even this year, they moved the next two Lady Death books to Coffin Comics. So Coffin Comics now have their own Kickstarter page, but there's only 2 books in there. So the other 25 are all under Brian Pulido, and I think 13 of these were Lady Death books. So not all of them are Lady Death. So we've got La Muerta. We've also got Witch.
Hell Witch.
Hell Witch, yes. Yeah.
Hell, man, I love that book.
Yeah, we'll get into that soon. But the latest book that's coming out, I know from here it said it was 22 days left. It was a couple of days ago. I took this screenshot, but gives you an idea, you know, like Rabbit said, Pulido's like pulling the bull by the horns. He's releasing all these books quite on a regular basis, right? Yeah. And amazing.
Yep.
And again, what to expect from coffincomics.com. I mean, it's a busy website.
Yeah.
It's a very busy. Did you check out the website, Rabbit? Do you have thoughts about it?
Yeah. Oh man, of all the websites that I've seen of most of the comic book community or companies or whatnot, I honestly think that this was the best. I mean, it was so it had so much stuff for you to buy and so much stuff for you to view, and it was so expansive that I got lost in it for about 30-45 minutes easily. And if I didn't have other stuff to do, I probably could have been on it for an hour or two. I mean, because it really was an amazing website compared to just about any other ones out there.
Yeah. And what did you think, Manny?
Yeah, I'm always on the website. Like I said, I've been a fan of of Lady Death forever. So yeah, I'm always checking it out. And yeah, there's a bunch of everything in that website that you can, you'll get lost in a second.
You know, the thing about it, there's only 4 characters in this publisher, and look how much stuff there is.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's a testament.
Insane.
That's a testament to what he's doing and what he's building around that, just the one character that he brought with him. And, everything that he's been reaching out to the community, I've only heard great things about him. I'm pretty new to whenever it comes to the artists and whatnot, but out of the artists that I've worked with, there's been 1 or 2 of them that said, my dream job isn't Image or DC or Marvel. It's to work at Coffin Comics. And that's amazing.
That's dope.
That's a massive, a compliment right there. And I mean, I love the appearance of the guy. He looks like a biker, but from what I've viewed, he's another guy. He wears all his patches, and he wears a leather vest. Like at a convention, that would be dope. That would be dope to see, because, and all his staff are wearing like biker vests as well with their own individual badges. Like, man, that's so amazing.
Yeah, it's almost like if you take Tom McFarlane and put it in a blender with Stan Lee, because he's very like into his character, but he's like very lively, and when you see his videos, he's all happy, and if he makes you wanna just buy his books, man, he's just a cool dude.
And one of the things I did whenever I was coming up is I watched a lot of YouTubes, and I saw a few of his. He took so much time to explain to creators where to go. I mean, how to start out. And he didn't have to, because he's got this massive company right now, and he's just making it bigger. But for him to make those YouTubes to share his knowledge with people, you just don't see that nowadays.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, and he's got staff like Jimmy Coffin, who is like his spokesperson. You know what I mean? And he's like showing all the new books that come out, like, and he's just so full of energy. He's probably been injected with something that Polito gave to him that just turned him into this monster of happiness. So you know what I mean? It's just so lively. Like, where it comes to Polito, Jimmy Coffin, like seriously, this is like amazing. The YouTube videos are fun to watch, because all they do is just show off all the amazing covers that their next Kickstarter is launching. So definitely check it out. And you guys are gonna either love me or hate me shortly when you see what I received from Coffin Comics. So there's more of what you can get through their website right there, whether it be little ornaments or patches or whatever. So I received a parcel, my very first order from Coffin Comics, and it came in a package looking like this.
That's dope.
Yeah.
What would you think seeing that? Like, I was expecting like a little thin, like, cardboard fold-up thingy, but this actually came in a box that looked like this. Like, that was amazing. So dope. Yeah, so I was extremely happy. And then when I opened it, these are just some of the products that I got. So I got a signed copy of Malevolent Decimation #1, which is chapter 11.
Damn, that's dope.
You need to check the chapter numbers before buying your books, just to make sure if you want to be in sequence. These do continue, but they are standalone reads. So definitely check those out if you're new to Lady Death. And this is like a pin-up / postcard. It comes in roughly around this size. Actually, this is the same one right here, guys. Look at that.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
So this is some of the cool stuff that you get through their Kickstarter. And if you haven't bought anything like this before, you're going to be surprised, because you're going to be inundated with goodies, right? And there's some of the other goodies that I received, like bookmarks, even like $666 bills. It actually feels like real money.
Ah,
You know
that's
what I
cool.
mean? Like, yeah, stickers. You know, here we go. So I'll just show you guys what you get. So
That's cool.
actually smells like money, which is sad. Would be nice. Stickers right here, and these are from a few books that I picked up. Even got a 2021 calendar.
Wow.
You know, another pin up. You know, more bookmarks. I think this is actually not a bookmark. This is a sticker. So that's another sticker. I also got inundated. Made a sworn member as well. So congratulations to me for being a regular buyer. Then I got this one here, which I would not want to have around my girlfriend. She'd probably be thinking, "Who the hell is that? Who's this?" But definitely, and look, and it is worthwhile if you do become a member. You know, being a sworn member is amazing.
So what does that make you, an Undertaker?
Yeah, I think so. or the guy that digs the ditch for the Undertaker. So yeah, I'm the guy
That's
holding
funny.
the shovel. There we go. So I'm a shovel holder, and I bring the
Nice.
wheelbarrow. Or I'm the guy that holds the lid open of the coffin where they put the body inside. But no, but seriously, guys, Coffin Comics, their Kickstarter is like beyond amazing. Like you get one, you get hooked, and you want to get more. So definitely do yourself a favor and check them out. All right, this is going to be the exciting part now, because now us cats are now going to be talking the book discussion. So, Witch Death, Hellborn #1. So this book was co-written by Polito with Mike McLean, art by Diego Bernard, colors CC De La Cruz, and letters and logo by Marshall Dillon. Rabbit, what did you think of Hell Witch Hellborn #1?
I loved it. I mean, I loved the way he, just the writing of it, the way it flowed. I mean, that to me was the best part of it. The way the story flowed. You don't get that from most writers, because they're either stumbling in one part or moving things around. But the way this issue flowed, this book just was so graceful. And even though it was a lot of action and of course there's that drama that's in there, but the way it was written, it just flowed smooth.
Yeah. And there's a lot of sadness to the story as well, right? Manny, what did you think of the art style in this book? Because I think it was amazing.
The artwork on this one was my favorite of the four that we're gonna discuss. Yeah, the artwork on this, it was absolutely amazing. From the cover, usually when you see the cover, you're like, "Ah, man, it's gonna be awesome," and the inside is not gonna look like this. Nope, the inside was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, look, like we just look at this page here, and you got the guy riding a giant insect. Not really the kind of steed we're used to seeing, which almost made me believe like this world is something else, right? And I mean, it's actually not kind of an insect. It looks more like a tick or a flea, right?
That's what I thought it was, a tick. Yeah. Yeah. Giant tick.
Still, like you know what I mean? Like it was amazing, and the sadness to the story as well. Like her life is hell. She's a slave. I mean, gosh, it was really dramatic.
Yeah.
I mean, believe it's only 4 issues of this title. I could be wrong, but I know it's not very long. It hasn't been around. Maybe 7 issues. I think La Muerta is 4 issues. Yeah, so this one's gone for 7 issues now. And I mean, Rabbit, what would you say to readers or people who are looking at this cover and thinking, "Oh, should I read or should I not?" What is it that would attract them?
Well,
in
and
your
the
opinion?
thing that I thought was like, is this going to be a cookie cutter Lady Death? But it wasn't. It to me, it was
Mhm.
No.
a story all of its own, and the fact
Yeah,
that it had such intertwining stories, between her and the healer, and then her and
yeah,
the evil. I don't know. What was she? Uh, Emperor, Empress, whatever. From
yeah.
The
it
Queen.
was all of those stories, and the way that it just translated throughout the whole thing, it was so smooth and so graceful of a story that this wasn't
Mhm,
to me cookie cutter at all. This was a great story,
mhm.
especially if you're just jumping in on it. It was amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. And I mean, in the future, she's actually the enemy of Lady Death,
Yeah.
which is kind of
Oh,
made me feel like, yeah, she's going to be like an arch nemesis. But the thing is, she didn't start from like,
Right.
is she going to be like a Maleficent type of character where we feel for her in the beginning and suddenly we can't feel for her? Like, what's the story here?
and, and it's crazy because in one issue, it gives you basically her origin.
Yeah.
It gives you motivations. It tells you how much she suffered. It
Hmm.
gives you like a power balance of all the beings that are in hell, and
Yeah,
it's not forced. It's just as
Yeah.
things progress, you're like, holy crap! I mean, this it's a lot in one issue.
yeah, and the thing I like about this too, kind of seeing it with McFarlane, he's handing over some of his writing duties to what's his name? Is it
Sean Lewis.
Sean Lewis? Yes, he's given a little bit of the reign to Mike McLean. So Mike McLean is kind of like coming up with some new ideas to like just to broaden the story and also developing the character. And I think that's amazing that we're seeing a co-writer here, not just Polito just writing everything, because that's just not realistic. So I'm really happy that we're getting some handoff to McLean here. Um, and
I
it,
agree. I
and it
agree.
made the story like it made it amazing. And I mean, you're right, Rabbit. This is definitely not a cookie cutter. It's not
Yeah.
the same character with horns. It's completely different, which I really appreciate. And
Yeah.
and I wonder why her and Lady Death don't like each other. That's what I want to know.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I guess they both want to be the rulers or so. I guess I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
They have completely different motivations. Lady Death is
Mhm.
more vengeance, and this one, Hell Witch, is more. She just wants to survive, basically.
Yeah, she is a survivor.
And
Yeah.
it gave such a great foundation in this book. I mean, it
Hmm.
was definitely an origin that made you feel, and not only feel for her, but kind of feel angry for her as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
Yeah.
sure.
And if you read the Bible, like I don't know if y'all are ever read the Bible, but I've read the Bible. But in the Bible it talks about when you go to hell, it's like an eternal. You're suffering eternally for the rest of time.
Hmm.
And in here they talk about that. They talk about you're not gonna die. You're gonna be in that pit forever,
Yes.
unless unless the queen decides that you're going to oblivion, which is basically they're gonna make you disappear.
Hmm.
And that's why she's trying to get away from the pit and try not to go to oblivion. She wants to, and eventually well, I don't want to say too much because I want people to read it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely worth reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, in these books, especially three of these are not all ages books. They're definitely not for children. So the Manny that went to Puerto Rico to pick this up, he wouldn't be allowed to read this book.
Well, when I started reading comics, I was like in middle school. Yeah, no, definitely. I did no,
Yeah.
no. I probably snuck it in and didn't tell my mom.
All right. So now we're going to be talking about the next book now, and this is La Muerta, #1, Descent. Um, Again, story by Brian Pulido, but written by Mike McLean. So giving McLean a lot more writing power. Art by Joel Gomez. Hopefully, no relation to you, Paulie. Colors by CC Del Cruz. La Muerta logo by Jeff Moss, cover art by Richard Mortiz, and cover colors by Diego Garcia. Manny, you mentioned something before, and I want you to repeat it to the viewers. What did you think of the character La Muerta?
Yeah, what I said was that she's basically like the Punisher, and it's basically like the Dia de los Muertos. Basically, you mix those two things and you come up with her. She's not to be messed with. That's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think and I covered this earlier, is that the character, what you see on the cover, is pretty much what you see in the book. And again, this is a story of vengeance. You know, the young lady who returned from, she's a war veteran, and she goes to spend time with her family. She's of Mexican descent, and I believe it was her brother, or was it her friend, that was involved in the in like with gangsters. I think it was her brother, right?
Yeah, her
Yeah,
brother.
it was her brother who was involved with the wrong crowd. And yeah, and without revealing too much, things go bad, and La Muerta rises to get revenge on those who wronged her. And I don't know, I actually thought the art in this was really, really decent. I think
Yeah.
you know, Gomez did a really good job. I really like the edginess to it. But I won't go too far in, because Manny, being the artist of the group, what did you think of the art style?
I loved it. It fit perfectly with the story. You don't want too much detail on a story like this. You want it to be
Yeah.
like chaotic almost. And I think
Mm-hmm.
the colors by Ceci de la Cruz were like a standout. That's basically the
Yeah.
colors is what ties everything together. They
Mm-hmm.
could have gone with a black and white just story and make it like Sin City, but the
Mm-hmm.
colors on this gives it a completely different life. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think Ceci de la Cruz, she was a standout.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree, because you can see it here. I mean, look at on the bottom panel, like the sunrise. You can kind of
Yeah,
see the sunrise coming from the darkness. Like, it looks absolutely gorgeous. Um,
and I want one thing I want to point out is that one of the main things that I like about this story is, yeah, it's a vengeance story. It's kind of like the Punisher, but I like that she's not unbeatable, or she's not infallible like the Batman or something like that.
mhm,
She gets knocked down, she gets beat up, she gets shut up,
mhm,
and she just uses her military training to survive.
mhm.
Which makes you wanna root for her.
Oh yeah.
It makes her relatable, because if you have a character that that never loses, that is like bulletproof and stuff like this, it's hard to relate to a character like that. So I
Mm.
think they did a great job just making her believable.
Human. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
believable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one thing about her as well, with the face paint, it instills fear, and I think fear is like one of the greatest weapons, right?
It is. It
Yeah.
is.
You know, if people are scared, like they don't know she's not bulletproof. They might
No,
just think they're looking at a ghost. You know what
and
I mean?
and they call her a ghost. And
Hmm.
there's this. It's actually two things I wanted to mention. One is the weapon that the main villain uses. That's
Hmm.
an Aztec weapon that existed, and it was a terrible weapon. It was made out of
Hmm.
stone, and it has sharp edges, but it was extremely hard. And when it hit you, it just pummeled you. So that's a terrifying weapon in itself. But the weapon that La Muerta uses is fighting a rooster's spurs.
Hmm.
When they're illegal in the states, and actually I think they made them illegal in Puerto Rico, but people do it in Puerto Rico still. That's like
Hmm.
that's our basically our national sport is fighting cocks, basically what they call them. And they have clandestine fights, and they put metal spurs, and they're super long, 2-3 inches, and those things will just slice you up. And
Yeah.
that's what she when she La Muerta attacks one of the main the main villains cronies, they're having a clandestine cockfighting, and she grabs those spurs, and that's what she uses for a weapon, which is I've never seen before in any other comic, any other movie, and I think it's brilliant because those things are terrifying. They will slice you up. So that was whoever came up with that. Bravo, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, and one thing I do appreciate it as well is that you look at a lot of the people involved in the art and the colors all have Hispanic names. So I really appreciate that, because then we've seen a bit of genuine attributes to the story. You know, maybe they can talk to McLean and Polito and just correct them on, you know, making it authentic.
Yeah.
I mean, as a Latino yourself, Manny, did you find it was more realistic, or like you could
Absolutely. Yeah, and the way they treat the villains, the gang, it's basically a cartel, right? And it's
Yeah.
they look extreme. When you read the story, you're like, man, these people are extreme, and they're not extreme. That's reality. I mean, that's how in Mexico and the cartels in Latin America, that's they do unthinkable things just to instill fear in people, and they go above and beyond, and it's exactly how they show in this comic. So whoever the writer, he did his due diligence, he did his homework, and you can tell the little details that they add on. It's just, it works. They did a good job, a really good job.
Yeah. No, I think this was a surprise for me because I liked it a lot more than I would have expected.
Yeah.
And look, and I think if you are looking for something different that is kind of like, and there's no real tie-in to Lady Death or anything like that, this is like a standalone story.
Yep.
And look, you know, might get some criticism here, but I find the flow of the book was reminding me a little bit of Spawn, a little bit, right?
Yeah,
the way I see the flow of the story, there's so much going on. However, it's easily followed, and I mean, yeah, I really enjoyed it. So, Rabbit, I would really, you know, check this out because this book is amazing.
Yeah, and they put out amazing stuff just about every time. I definitely gonna check them all out.
Yeah, no, it's definitely amazing. And here's another page too.
That makeup, man, that makeup is so amazing, dude.
I know.
I love it.
I wonder how long it would have taken her to put it on. It didn't look like it took her long, but look at the detail. Gosh.
I think she's possessed. I think when she helped that homeless guy, the homeless guy was praying to the goddess of death or some sort of goddess, and when she helps him out or offers to help him, he's like, I'm sure the goddess of death, she'll repay you someday, and that's what happens. I think she's possessed by the goddess of death.
And I think that's where I got the Spawn connection in there, because Spawn was dealing with that homeless guy for a fair number of issues in the early 90s, and that's where I got the connection, because she was dealing with a homeless guy who was kind of like, he was helping her. Yeah,
Cogliostro.
Cogliostro. Yes, of course. I just couldn't remember his name off the top of my head. But definitely a good connection there. You definitely recommend checking this out. All right, moving on. And look, I had to go the OG. Because, I mean, if you think about it, most of the other books from Coffin Comics are all Lady Death. And I thought I would just kick it off with jumping back in time. And look, this is really nice. I'm really glad I was able to get a copy of the old school Lady Death, The Reckoning, written by Brian Polito, artist Stephen Hughes. We mentioned his name a lot. So you're going to be seeing his artwork here. Colors by Jason Jensen, letters by Patrick Owsley. And here we've got an image of Stephen Hughes.
Yeah, man.
The maestro. And there's another of his creations there, Evil Ernie, who is available through Dynamite Entertainment if you want to check out those titles. Yes, he passed away in 2000. You know, I actually didn't know until like a couple of years ago when I was like checking out Lady Death, because I was wondering where is Stephen Hughes in all of this. Like no pinups or anything, but now we know why. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
But here we get a gist of the book. And Rabbit, what did you think of the writing style in The Reckoning?
It's been so long that whenever I saw it again, it kind of brought me back home. Whenever you talk about the writing, to me it was always great. I mean, there was I could never find a problem whenever it came to any Lady Death scripts or books and stuff, because to me they just pulled you in.
Yeah, and just, the character Hope and her heartache and what she went through as a human. It was like, because to be honest with you, this was the first time reading a Lady Death from this era, because I've known of the books. I've owned a couple, but that's what I did. I just owned them because I only saw her from Wizard magazine. Like they weren't available at newsstands or anything like that where I come from. So very hard to get my hands on. But
yeah,
I was really impressed with the writing too. I thought it was amazing. But Manny, the art. Let's jump to that.
Man.
What did you think of this story in particular?
This man, look, the artwork on this book. You have to think that this came out in '93.
Yeah.
All right, very early '90s. And everything was done. No computer, nothing. It was it was pencil, ink, and Prismacolor pencils. And man, it's just the way I see it. I see every page is a work of art, man. It's just beautiful. So many details in it. And I'm also looking at it as it's a part of history. Like this, man, all these images that I've seen in Wizard magazines, in Hero magazines, here they are, and this is where they come from. Like that, the most famous phrase for if you know Lady Death, if you read it, Lady Death, if you know her story, you know a woman cursed. It's basically her life was so tragic before she became Lady Death. No wonder she's so fierce, and so everybody's terrified of her because she went through so much,
Yeah. But I kind of feel like, in my opinion, I thought the inks were a bit heavy, especially in the colors.
Yeah.
Especially if you look at the top panel on the top left-hand side, kind of thought a bit heavy with the colors. But there are some panels that are just like absolute masterpiece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll show you the page I'm going to refer to, because I think this one here.
God, yeah.
Holy crap! I would love this as a poster.
And like Manny touched on, this wasn't digital. I mean, this wasn't.
I know, right?
They took the time to, and back then it was more of a. He had to have a love for it to put in this much time for this art.
Hell yeah!
And for this brand new story that was coming out, I was glad that I was around whenever they did come out, and I was glad that I had a friend who was really obsessed with it, that she bought just every issue. So I got to read them, when they were coming out or soon thereafter. And it was, to me, it was one of the best of that era.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Our wise specifically, it was so far better than most of what was coming out.
Yeah, especially being consistent as well, because I mean they folded in 2002. During the 90s, a lot of publishers went bust before the year 2000. It's still within the 90s. You know what I mean? Like, to have a book still ongoing, and they were just doing their own thing. They don't really rely on anybody.
Right.
But as I said before, Stephen Hughes is like the Jack Kirby of the early Marvel. Like, he was in everything.
Yeah.
Crazy.
He gave Lady Death that, and I mean, look at that, man. Look at that. Jesus, man. It's just the way he drew Lady Death is the model that man, to this day, you have to follow that pattern. It's just there's no,
Yeah,
you're not gonna get better than that. And
exactly.
the same with Evil Ernie. Even
Hmm.
I'm buying the comics now from Dynamite, the Evil Ernie comics, and nobody can draw Evil Ernie like Steven Hughes used to draw. Man, it's
Yeah,
just it was that he has something special, man. That dude was special.
yeah. And if you think about Evil Ernie, right, you kind of, he doesn't look anything like any other character. Do you know
No,
what I mean? He doesn't have like a standard, like a human face that anyone can draw. You've got to draw it that style in order to make it Evil Ernie.
he
Otherwise,
was.
it's not Evil Ernie.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, this book is, full of trauma. And I mean,
Yeah.
you look at her now, she's overconfident and, she's a kick ass character. But then you see what she was before when she was Hope. And, oh, it's so sad. It was
Polar
tough.
opposites.
Polar opposites, yes. And so be it, because she went through so much as a human. Like,
Yeah,
she
and
so much.
not only did she went through so much, people hated her because of her dad.
Yeah,
Like
her dad.
she was just guilty by association.
Exactly. Yeah, and here he is at the bottom panel there, and they're all his supporters. And look at the rain sequence here. Isn't that amazing?
Hand painted,
Yeah,
man. Oh
yeah,
my
hand
god, dude,
painted.
dude.
Yeah.
It was something to behold for sure.
Yeah. I truly hope Coffin can actually reprint these books for the greater audience, because it's sad that, obviously you have to go through back issues
Yeah,
and online to find these books, but definitely worth finding and checking out, because these are absolutely amazing.
no
Yeah.
doubt.
Yes. All right. So now we're moving to the future a bit. Back in 2015, we've got Chaos Rules, which was the very first book to be released through Kickstarter through Coffin Comics. This is chapter 1. Chaos Rules, kind of like fitting, right, to have that title, to throw chaos in there into the
Yeah.
title. Yeah. So again, it's written by Brian Pulido, with art by the late Diraj Verma. Rest in peace. He passed away of COVID-19 just last year.
Oh
A
my
great Indian
god.
artist. Great Indian artist. First to head to the States and draw for the likes of DC and Marvel. Colors by Sabine Rich. Letters by Marshall Dillon. Cover art by Paulo Pantalina, and cover colors by Ula Moss. I was pleasantly surprised by this book. Rabbit, what did you think of Chaos Rules?
I don't know. I don't usually like to say that I love everything from one person, but
Mhm.
I mean, it really was great. I haven't exactly been up to date with Lady Death, because, like I said,
Mhm.
whenever my friend used to collect them, I used to read her copies and whatnot,
Mhm.
and it it was great. It was still, that Lady Death that I remember, and so much
Mhm.
more powerful behind it. It
Yeah.
it just was so good.
Yeah. It almost had same sort of adventure tale that Hellwitch presented, even though they're completely different books. But I just had the same feeling reading beginning to end when I read the two books. The feelings I had emotionally were similar. And
Yeah.
like there are books I just could not put down. And it's great too, because we get a finale at the end of the story. So we don't just read even though it's an oversized first issue, you get the full story in one book. And I really enjoyed that. I really appreciate the fact that I get to a finished product. But even though the
Right.
next story is going to be something completely different, but I didn't feel underwhelmed after reading this.
Yeah.
Manny, what did you think of the art style?
Man, look, when I first saw I've seen that cover before, and I
Mhm.
absolutely like I think it was Paulo Pantaella, the cover that I saw,
That's correct.
and
Yes.
and I was like, my goodness, man, this cover is absolutely beautiful. So when I started reading, it's a different artist, obviously. And it took me like 2 or 3 pages when I was like, oh man, this is not working. After the third page, I was like, okay, I see what he's doing. And then I went all the way back to the first page and read it all in one hit. And I think the cover was so different that from the inside that it kind of took me out of it. But when I started reading it again from the beginning, I was like, oh yeah, this works. And the colors were amazing. I followed Sabine Rich for a while.
Yeah.
It's amazing colorist. There were a few. I caught a few mistakes. Like that maybe the editor should have catch. At one point she slices somebody's arm and his belly or whatever. The arm goes flying, and then on the next page he has the arm again, and I'm like, oh man, it should have caught. They should have caught that. But it's so many so many illustrations, so many pages that nobody's perfect. You miss things like that sometimes. But
Yeah.
the story is, like you say, it gives you a beginning and an end. Even though it's a continuing storyline, it gives you an end, and it gives you motivations. It shows you how powerful Lady Death is, and how powerful the beings that she fights against are. Because if you have an overpowered character that is fighting nobodies, then you're like, whatever. But she's fighting powerful beings at the same time. I loved it. I'm kind of biased because I love Lady Death, Lady Death.
Right.
But yeah, it was a great story though. It was a great book.
Yeah. I'm kind of like was happy to see the relation between her and Wolf, the man that she befriended.
Right.
And I really like that because like we've seen images of her. She's so vengeful, but at the same time, she actually tells him she has her own needs.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
But she has needs, and I mean, like he offered it to her, but I think it was more than the physical. I think there was something that she needed, and Wolf was able to provide it to her because he was so calm and carefree, and I think he was a good match for her.
And yeah, and it's also like it's like they say this saying like is lonely at the top, right? She's so powerful, and but at the same time she's so alone. Her mom is lost. Everybody she knew is lost. So she's okay. I'm so powerful, but what does it matter? I have nobody with me. So when she found him, it was like a kindred soul. Like, okay, you can help me. We can help each other. I like you. So it's we all need somebody.
Exactly. And the thing is, in the beginning, she didn't trust him, and he proved himself to be a pretty cool guy. Like he was on the same page with her, and and the fact that his reason for being in hell was so pitiful. I thought, you know what I mean? He
And
was.
it's hard to trust. It's hard to trust somebody when you find them in hell.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I don't blame
That
her.
is so true. But I mean, I do love this page here. I think the background is amazing.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Yeah, those colors, man. Whew.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed this. And I think this was a great stepping stone for people reading Lady Death because they're going to get so much more. There's 15 books that have come through Coffin Comics for Lady Death, and this is the first one.
Yeah.
And one thing I did like it as well. I read the Reckoning first, and then reading this, and I did see some flashback scenes from when Hope was tied up to the cross or whatever that wooden spike with the fire. Like it was nice to see that refreshed and retouched. That the origin story still remains, even going back all those years ago.
Yeah.
Because you see other publishers that just really just shape the story and it's completely different, and then there's no continuation. You know what I mean? Like I just really appreciate that.
Yeah, and them putting that in there, having that feel of that old character still kind of just but to me one of my favorite parts was that part where she's like, it's magic. You know, and right after that, because it wasn't exactly a flashback, it was more of a homage, if you will, to what she
Yeah.
was before. And that was the art that he really put into it. It wasn't like you were saying, it was something that tied it to her origin, but it wasn't exactly just a flashback or a dream.
Yes, exactly. It's because I think if you read Lady Death for the first time, you probably just overlook it as being
Yeah.
something. But as soon as I saw that, I was like, "That's from
Yeah.
Chaos Comics. Like, that's amazing."
It's
So
it's crazy. It's crazy that when I need to look into the other comics that I have here from Lady Death Comics. This book I read the original one like you did, Dodgy,
yeah,
and that's why I read the to know her story is to know a woman curse.
Yeah.
hmm
When you read this book, the first page tells you the same thing. It's
hmm
the same exact phrase. So I don't know if they do it on every comic or if it's because this is the first one coming out of Coffin Comics and they're
hmm
trying to tie you to the first issue that ever came out.
yeah,
And I caught it immediately. I was like, it's just such a cool phrase, and I'm like, damn,
mhm,
okay, hold, let me go back. And that's how
yeah.
I tied it together. I was like, oh, that was a nice touch.
Yeah, because I know there was other Lady Death books between 2002 and 2015. They were published through Advent Comics as well as Boundless Comics as
Yeah,
well. So there are other stories if you wish to check out your local comic book stores back issues. I'm sure you'd find them because they were around. So they've been coming through Diamond. Even Coffin Comics are still coming through Diamond. They don't come through that often, but it's good to see that they do. So if you miss out on, or if you don't have access to their website, or if you don't follow Kickstarter, at least you can pick them up in your local comic book store, which
yeah,
is amazing. So again, everyone can get access to these books, and like seriously, definitely worth. I think this has probably been one of the most interesting publishers I've come across in Sunder Katz. And this here was really nice, right? Obviously I don't want to give too much away, but we see the fate of
yeah.
Wolf, you know, amazing,
She's
right?
she's 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 alone again.
She
Yeah.
is alone again, but he earned his worth, like she yeah, it was nice. It actually was really nice, but
Yeah,
really sad. I was sad for Lady Death because she found a nice person, and
yeah.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
that was a that
sad
was a
ending.
cool finale for him. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So definitely worth buying, definitely worth reading. I mean, gosh. And the great thing too with the Kickstarter as well is that you can actually go back and buy all the previous chapters if you want to,
right.
through their Kickstarter add-ons. So you can definitely do that or even you can just go back and buy individual issues. Is one of the add-ons in the current Kickstarter. So it's great if you like are trying to catch up or you want to start from scratch. You can definitely do so.
I, I, wa-
Bobby, go on.
no, I'm sorry. I was gonna say I wonder if he's gonna put out like a compendium or something like that
Mm.
with
Well,
other issues.
he has got them actually in the Kickstarter. So he's got volumes like hardcover
Ooh,
volumes. So I believe it's only like 3 books per compendium.
okay.
And they come in trade or hardcover.
Yeah.
Um, But Rabbit, before we wrap up, what are your overall thoughts of Coffin Comics, considering everything we've covered today?
I think it's on the rise. I mean, it's already risen so far, but I think it's on the rise
Mhm.
again. I think he's doing more and more, especially nowadays. He seems like a great guy, and like I said, there's so much stuff
Mhm.
that I've heard and seen that you don't see
Yeah,
from most creators. I think Coffin Comics is just gonna go further up.
yeah. And
I
Manny?
agree. I agree completely. I think not only the books are interesting, Brian is doing everything right. Um, he's
Mhm.
he's not only doing Kickstarters like you're supposed to do them. He's also helping the community,
Mhm.
sharing his knowledge, and he's built up enough of a following that he'll be set. But also by helping other creators, small creators on Kickstarter and stuff like that, which he doesn't have to do, he's even growing his fan base and just getting well thought for his company, and word of mouth, it goes a long way. I think he's doing everything right.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is a publisher that doesn't really get the recognition it deserves. And I think unless you are not familiar with Kickstarter, you'd be missing out big time for what's been brought to the greater community, because getting stuff sent to Australia is no issues. Like I've zero issues with getting my books. I've had zero issues with ordering. And they always arrive, and they arrive with a stack of goodies included. And I feel like, geez, like that's amazing, right? You get your books, plus you get these stickers and your badges and these little bookmarks, and it's amazing. Like I feel like valued as a customer, because you just get all these this swag, and I think that they need the recognition, they need the support from fans. And I mean there are a lot of fans out there, but we've got fans that are that don't follow Kickstarter that are missing out.
Yeah, and one thing I want to mention is that a lot of people may push them aside because they think it's just one thing. It's like, oh well, this is the same, like you were saying, like we were talking about with the Hell Witch and a Lady Death. Oh, they're the same character. They're not the same character at all. It's just sexy comics. Well, not necessarily. They have La Muerta. So it's a completely different universe, completely different type of character. Just you need to look further than just put him in a box. No, don't put him in a box. They have a lot more to offer.
Yeah, it's not just a mature comic. His writing, his style, all of the stories that I've read from him, I mean, they've always been engaging and pull you into it. Even though it is, this one character that most people kind of focus on, the stories have been great. Most people would fall off on after a few issues, but they're still consistently great, different, new, and inviting. Even though he reinvents himself, it just seems to work every time. And then Hell Witch being so much different of a taste, and La Muerta it's different.
Yeah.
I mean, so you can expect that great story from him as well.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, because Hell Witch and La Muerta were actually written by, co-written by Mike McLean. So we're getting a different set of eyes, a different writing style, different approach to the character, working with Polita to make sure that everything is consistent of how it should be. But we've got a team here that are bringing out great content.
Yeah,
and absolutely.
I just love the art, because art sells, and I think he's choosing carefully. And
I agree.
We can talk about this a million times, but Lady Death, no matter who the artist is, looks like Lady Death.
Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think, guys, this is a publisher that you cannot overlook. They as Paulie said, they're on the rise. They've risen, but obviously the ceiling's getting higher and higher, and Lady Death is moving up there, or Coffin Comics is moving up there. So if you do find them at a convention, just check it out, because I'm sure you'd be blown away. I mean, that would be a wish for mine to actually see the Coffin Comics display at any convention. That'd be a dream come true right there.
No doubt.
All right, guys, thank you so much for watching another episode of the Sunder Katz. On myself, Paulie, Rabbit, and Manny. Okay, we're gonna close it off. All right, let's do it. Sunder Katz.
Oh!
Better than previous times.
All right.
getting there.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us, and see you all next time.
Alrighty.
Thank you. We hope you've enjoyed this Comic Crusaders production. For real-time news on all things pop culture, please feel free to follow us on social media. For articles, original content, merchandise, and more, please go to www.comiccrusaders.shop. Also follow along with all of the websites of the Comic Crusaders family. As always, if you like this content, please click like and subscribe to the Comic Crusaders YouTube channel.